What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. You read the title. What the hell just happened? Why did the Nuggets fire Michael Malone? I feel like I'm having a deja vu moment because I just did this like a week or two ago with the Taylor Jenkins situation. It's really bringing back a lot of memories. Honestly, I was going to get my car. Just got new brakes on it and everything like that. So, yeah, this news got broken to me while I was on the way there. They fired Michael Malone and Calvin Booth in a sweeping move just to clean up the entire organization. To be honest, although the timing is horrible, if I'm reading this correctly and how I've read this whole situation, I feel like cleaning house was the only option for Denver, in my opinion. Before the season, we'd seen some reports about Calvin Booth and Michael Malone not seeing eye to eye on some roster decisions and some roster moves, specifically in Calvin Booth wanting to prioritize the youth, i.e. the Christian Browns, the Peyton Watsons, the Jalen Pickett's, the Julian Strawthers, guys like that, the Zeke Najis. While Michael Malone was more like, hey, we need veteran help. We need guys who can come in and contribute today, right now. We have Nikola Jokic. We shouldn't be prioritizing youth. We should be trying to win a damn championship today. Honestly, this decision doesn't feel like a today decision. It feels like a next year decision, which I don't really like because now you're putting David Adelman, the now, what do they call that, a temp coach, basically, the temporary coach of the Denver Nuggets in a pretty bad spot where it feels like you're almost admitting that you are punting this season. I don't like that. I don't think it's a very fair chance to David Adelman. But also in the locker room, you could start to see that there was some cracks occurring in the wall. Somebody posted a video. I didn't think anything really of it, but it was a thing between Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson. It seemed like they had a minor disagreement in the huddle yesterday. Westbrook was dodging the media the last few days because of the blown layup and the rough game they had. He had specifically. So it felt like there was a couple of cracks forming in the locker room, and it was starting to get ugly. And Michael Malone wasn't helping the situation. I don't think he was really hurting it either, but I don't think Michael Malone, although he's the winningest and probably best coach in Denver Nuggets history, I think he could have done a very much better job this season with what he has than what he had done so far this year. Now, I'm not saying the Denver Nuggets would have been a 60-win team if you just insert such and such coach. That's not even true at all. But I do think they're better than what they are at. What are they at, 48 wins or something like that? In the high 40s. And I think they're just better than that. Although I know the roster is very not great construction-wise. I feel like he could have done a better job. But also at the same time, it's really difficult for this team, for anybody to really talk about this team, because it always feels like when you talk about the Denver Nuggets, there's always one facet that just doesn't work. I know that might not sound right, but I think about it and I'm like, okay, early season they were struggling. Why? Jamal was terrible. He had his early season struggle. He was awful. Jamal picks it up. Now all of a sudden, in I think the month of March, Michael Porter Jr. shot like 30% from three. 30% isn't good at all. That's lower than Aaron Gordon on the season. And Aaron Gordon's only had one season this year of being a plus shooter. Michael Porter Jr. is supposed to be the best shooter on the team. Then the center situation. I mean, this all goes on roster construction for Calvin Booth. It's a main complaint toward Calvin Booth for the roster construction. There's holes in this roster. Let's be honest with each other. DeAndre Jordan is not a horrible player, but he should not be eating as many minutes as he has. He won them a few games. I think against Houston, he was really good in Houston. And so was Russ in that game. But you can't consistently rely on DeAndre Jordan and Zeke Naji. As much as I like Zeke Naji's hustle, he is a hustle-hard type of guy. He's not that productive. He doesn't get a lot done on the court. He doesn't use his size very well. He's not a great rebounder for his size. I don't think this roster is really built to win a championship right now. And like I said, I would have just let Michael Malone ride out for the rest of the season. But I don't view them as a contender. I kind of see them as pretender right now. And again, that goes on roster construction. It's not a Michael Malone issue per se. I think they could have done a better job simply because of the rotations and him running Jokic a lot. I mean, he has to run him into the ground. That's a roster construction issue. But it's not really Jokic or Mike Malone's fault that Jamal Murray and MPJ can't run a damn bench unit. I mean, I guess he could do a better job with sets on the bench unit, but their bench units have been historically ass for like 5 years now. And I think that's a Michael Malone issue, because the only time they really had a deep bench was when they had Brucey B, KCP, Christian Brown, all them guys. Christian Brown was still like a bench guy, and he came alive in the finals and stuff like that. But again, that's a Calvin Booth issue. That's why I'm saying I think getting rid of both is just the best possible outcome here. You couldn't just leave Calvin Booth after he's done at best, C-plus job of roster construction beyond what the last GM, like Arturas Karnisovas and all them guys were doing, drafting Jokic, drafting Jamal, drafting MPJ. bringing in an Aaron Gordon. Calvin Booth saying, all right, we do need some vets. We need some contributors. Let's bring in Russell Westbrook. Let's let KCP walk. I'm going to be honest, this may be brutally mean, but I think one of their big missteps was handing out that big bag to MPJ. I get it. He was really good in that finals series, and he was pretty good that playoffs. MPJ is not what they expected and not what I think he needed to be, what he needed to be for this Nuggets team to be a contender. And even Michael Porter Jr. said it during the season. I know I've referenced him being traded like twice now already, but I think Michael Porter Jr. alluded to it, that this was kind of the last ride for this roster and that they weren't going to get many more chances. Now I'm wondering what the heck is going to happen, because I think the reason he said that is because Calvin Booth was prioritizing the youth movement, and obviously Nikola Jokic isn't youth. So now I'm kind of wondering what direction that the new GM is going to want to take this in. Who the hell is going to be their new GM? What are we going to do? I didn't mention this in the Memphis video when I talked about the Taylor Jenkins firing, but I guess this kind of gives them a way for them to start their hiring search earlier. I don't like it. I don't like the way they did it, but at the end of the day, I do like that they got rid of both, because if they just got rid of Michael Malone, it would have been scapegoating. But getting rid of Calvin Booth, who, again, like I said, has done, quite frankly, a very bad job of providing a competent roster, he needed to go as well, and it was a good move. And him prioritizing the youth, in my opinion, kind of boned them, potentially, because, like I said, guys like MPJ don't hold that much trade value nowadays. I'd say Aaron Gordon holds more trade value than an MPJ would, in my opinion. That's maybe I'm the hot take guy or something, but that feels like a correct assessment, in my mind at least. But I think the pathway for this Nuggets team to be back to a competitor, a true fearsome competitor, would be for them to trade, package maybe a Michael Porter Jr. and package with him with a Christian Brown. So you have a young guy on I think he's still on rookie scale in Christian Brown, and a guy who's making $37 million or whatever for Michael Porter Jr. You can put them together and get yourself a decent little player, a more consistent player than Michael Porter Jr., albeit. And I don't know what that trade is right now. I can't sit down and tell you one specific guy. I think the Denver Nuggets should go after. I genuinely don't know. But overall, like I keep saying and I keep harping on it, this was the correct move, in my opinion, was to hollow out the whole thing, because it was becoming a very cancerous, toxic situation. And what do you do when you have the cancer? You cut the cancer. I want to know how Denver or Nuggets fans feel about this specifically down in the comments below, because it would make sense if you were upset because of the timing of this, but it would also make sense if you were in the boat that a Grizzlies fan left in my comments under the Taylor Jenkins video, that, hey man, he wasn't getting the job done. We love him for what he is, and we respect the job he's done here, but we weren't going to be able to get it done under him. But they've already gotten it done. They've won the championship with Michael Malone. You stamped your place in NBA history with that team. I get it. It's definitely brutal to watch him go for all the people who do like Michael Malone in Denver. But at the same time, at least you got your championship out of it. You had your fun times. And now it's time to see what this new regime can bring in. This roster's also been consistently injured, at least in my view of it. Aaron Gordon missed a good amount of time. Of course, Jokic is always going to get his rest days because, let's be honest, they run him 40-plus a night. He needs a rest day here and there. And it overall just feels Michael Porter Jr. has been in and out. Like it feels like everyone on this roster has missed some time, and that's kind of cost him a little bit too. But like I said, at the same time, if you're the GM, if you're Calvin Booth, you realize all these injuries are happening. You need to find more depth, and they just haven't been able to get more depth. I'm sorry, relying on guys like P. Watt, Zeke Naji have kind of shot them in the foot. Christian Brown's turned into and developed into a decent role player. But I'm just going to be honest, Peyton Watson, I'm not going to sit here and pound the table for more P. Watt minutes. Jalen Pickett, that's a freaking local legend from where I'm from, for Christ's sake. What do you go to, Siena, right? And overall, I just don't think you can rely on him to be your backup guy. Julian Strawther's only good at home, it feels like. I mean, and this only comes 11 days after the Taylor Jenkins firing, which I think makes this, it kind of softens the blow that I feel about it. Because I think I'd feel more shocked if this was the first one for the first domino to be down. But I think they looked at the Memphis situation and was like, all right, we can get away with that. I don't know. Being the 3 seed is very, very different. Calvin Booth also didn't have an extension in place, so maybe he was on an expiring deal, so, I guess that makes sense. But if he was on an expiring deal, you could have just let it ride out and then just not brought him back. I don't know how to phrase it otherwise than that. According to Shams, this is tied for the latest coaching change in NBA history since Hubie Brown in 80-81. I was gonna say R.I.P. Hubie Brown. He's still alive, but his broadcasting career is over. So R.I.P. broadcaster Hubie Brown. And one last closing statement from me. I think this feels like Denver saying, okay, we won't win a championship this year, but if we clean house now, we have the opportunity to be able to go into 25-26 with a completely clean slate, bring in a new GM, a new coach, and get on the same page for once in a long while, because it was apparent that Booth and Malone were not seeing eye to eye and probably were not going to see eye to eye anytime soon. So this overall feels like a good clean house reset for them. It's different than Memphis to me because we always knew there was little bits and cracks in Denver's infrastructure, to say it wildly. I don't know how else to describe it. Malone didn't want to play young guys. Booth wanted to prioritize youth movement. It's really a philosophy thing, and realistically, they were never going to see eye to eye on that. That's an issue that I don't think you're ever going to really resolve, per se, because it's literally just two trains of thought. You're not going to change each other's mind. So I'm glad that the owner just stepped in and said, you know what? I'm freaking tired of hearing about this nonsense. I'm tired of hearing about this crap. Let's just get it over with now. But overall, like if they only fired Malone or they only fired Booth, it'd feel like they were scapegoating one, when realistically I think both can be the issue. And at the same time, folks in Denver, you won your championship. You got to be happy with that. That's the first time the Nuggets have won a finals ever, I think, maybe. So you completed the absolute top goal with Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. So you can salute both, but also at the same time say, hey, we should have been better with these guys. And now to hope that the next guy in Denver just decides, hey man, maybe we should help Jokic win today. Maybe. That's kind of my hope. That's what I think they should do, is go after winning right now, punt the youth. But their contract situation's really bad. Michael Porter Jr. is making way too much money, bro. And their bench is disgusting. So you got to come in, and there's got to be some remodeling done. But overall, they could roll into next season a really, really strong competitor again. It's just, how do you land on your feet after this? Let's see who they hire next. But talk about it down in the comments, Nuggets fans. I always respond to comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to catch a game. See you guys in the next one.